Owls, and happy new week. Coming in on a Sunday to chat to you about the week ahead. This is going to be week 6 of content, and October 12th starts our Monday. But as I explained in our online class on Wednesday, and then for my face-to-face students, I talked to you about this too. Monday, technically, there's no school for students in face-to-face, but I am going to open up the module for you to begin working on for Monday. Totally understand some of you might take Monday off, but it will be there for those of you who want to begin the work since our regular week is Monday through Friday. Totally understand that some of you might not look at it until Tuesday, and that's fine, but it is there for you to get a head start on if and when you're ready on Monday. So let's get started. I'm going to try to get through this presentation as quickly as I can. When I did my first draft, it was 18 minutes long, but there's some new things that are happening within the week 6 content, and I just want to make sure that you have a place for reference if you need it. So at this point, if you're watching this video, it means you have successfully joined quarter 2 ELA. These other 3 classes I'm going to archive on Monday when I have the work day, so they won't show up on your landing page anymore, and our work for the week will be generated in this ELA2 classroom. So let's go ahead and take a peek. As always, the Owl HOOT will be here once I finish recording and uploading to YouTube. But as always, I do want you to work within this classwork tab. So we're going to go ahead and hit that. Wonder if I can make me smaller? Look at me making me smaller and moving me around. So for the week content, just like usual, you do have your lesson plans. Start here. You've been doing a lot better with that since I've said start here. Nothing's really changed in your lesson plan. Click it to open it. And as always, when you go through it, it does tells you what to expect this week. I do need to change this because we were originally going to be doing this last week, and because it was the new week, I wanted to make sure that everybody had enough time to get everything turned in for report cards. And so we did push week 6 content to this week, hence why I have to redo the video. So it does tell you the stems that you're going to be learning this week. Lit terms, we will be reading a story called Grayling by Jane Yolen. Writing, there's a note taker for this week and a point of view anchor chart that you'll submit, just like you have been. And then digital literacy, the navigating between anchor chart in your notes, and then Google Docs and Google Classroom. Begin thinking about how many onomatopoeias can you think of? Should be a review from elementary school. Continuing through the lesson plan, please take a moment to look at this. It is your agenda. You can also use it like a task list. On the agenda side, 1 through 6, make sure you've completed everything to have all your points in for the week. Weekly words, 6 notes, just like always. It tells you what you need. There are 5 new stems for this week, so I do ask for 5 index cards. For those of you who completed the activity on Flipgrid last week, you should have 20 flashcards in your possession. Adding these 5 gives you a grand total of 25 flashcards of your stems. So this sets up your ELA ISN note taker. We're on page 6. And then as you go through the rest of the presentation, you can fill in the notes as if we were face-to-face. So it goes through super all the way. Make sure you're reading through these so you understand how the stems are working. All the way here to slide 18. And I have given you an example chart of what my notes would look like at this point. So the top part of your weekly word notes should match this table. Lit terms this week, we're going to explore further narrator, first person and third person point of view. So make sure that goes into your notes. Big grammar idea, we're going to add adjectives to our parts of speech this week. I'm looking forward to working with you on that. And onomatopoeia, again, should be a refresher from elementary school. If you're a little foggy on that, you might want to do some Googling. A word whose sound suggests its meaning. Pow, wow, wham. I think of like all the comic book words with that. And this shows you what your completed weekly words notes should look like. Please remember, like your week 6 comprehension test, for most part, is this page in your notes. So you can give this to a grown-up and ask them to help you study. The only thing that goes back from week to week are your stems. So these 5 will be on your test, and then there'll be a random extra 5 or so. Just make sure you know all your stems, please. But these ones will definitely be on the test. And then your weeks are completed, your notes. And of course, you can stop here if you want to. My lesson plan is not designed for you to do it all in one day, although I know some of you enjoy working on like one subject per day, so you could continue going. Make your flashcards. There's the 5 new ones for this week. Explaining point of view, there's a short video here that I'm asking you to watch, and you can stop the video at 4 minutes and 13 seconds. And then copy the who is telling the story from the right-hand side next to your notes. For the video, if you wanted to continue watching it after 4 minutes and 13 seconds, you can. The teacher that originally did this was having her students do something digital, like a digital interaction piece, and I'm not making you do that. I just wanted you to have a point of reference for point of view as you were working through it. So you can stop at 4 minutes and 13 seconds. This is what your notebook should look like, and you're going to send me a picture. That is one of your assignments for this week. As always, you can make that bigger to copy it if it makes it easier for you. And this week, we are going to be working on an anchor chart. We're going to be working with a note taker, working with a note taker this week, and we've done note takers from the beginning of the year, and this is going to be just a little bit different. There are still 3 parts to it, which is why we did the 3 parts in the beginning of the year, so you could get used to that format. Part 1 is a pre-reading strategy, part 2 is a during reading strategy, and then part 3 is an after reading strategy. So you are going to be reading a short story, Grayling by Jane Yolen, which is available in your Google Classroom right after upload an image, and I'll show you where that is in a moment. It's 2.5 pages long, and it's directly from the yellow textbook in class. After you've completed reading the story, you can still use the text, and then I want you to complete the note taker. Please do not submit the note taker until you've completed all 3 parts. As I've shared in class and then on our Wednesday class, when you share it before you have all 3 parts done, Google Classroom actually changes the owner of the document, which means you can't go back and edit it until I've had a chance to review it and return it, which could slow you down. So please don't turn it in until you've completed all 3 parts, okay? And I'll show you in a moment where that's located in your Google Classroom. And then the final thing here, you did it, you've completed week 6, and it does have, again, a checklist for you to make sure you haven't missed anything. I'm going to go back to the classwork, and so that's the lesson plan. This is where you're going to upload your weekly word notes and your anchor chart. And as you can see, I've attached a copy of my own notebook here for you to reference. It says yours should look a lot like mine. Please make sure you're not skipping steps on that. Here's the story for reading Grayling. Again, it's only 2.5 pages. You can use the text when you're completing the note taker, and you can also use the text when you're answering the comprehension questions on your weekly words quiz. There's no secrets here. I'm not trying to trick you. Definitely not testing your memory. You can have access to the test just like you would on the EOG. In fact, I encourage it. Then the note taker, as we talked about, there are 3 parts to it. You must read the story Grayling before attempting the note taker. Those of us that were face-to-face last week, we did do a practice note taker with a different short story in class, just so that you were familiar with the process here. My online students, you're not behind at all. I have every confidence that you are going to understand the components of the note taker, and I'm only an email away should you need me. If you have questions, please bring those questions on our Wednesday synchronous Google Meet, and we can talk through it there too. But when you open up your note taker, we're going to first brainstorm. Ooh, let's try it going this way. You're going to brainstorm the C. What does it look like? What does it smell like? Is that right? What does it smell like? What does it sound like? What does it feel like? And then what emotions do you associate with the C? And there's no wrong answers there. It's a descriptive graphic organizer to get you to start brainstorming the topic, one of the topics that we'll be working with this week. So a couple weeks ago, we talked about a literary analysis. And in the literary analysis, we have, I gotta move my picture again. In the literary analysis, you have these different parts on the left. You have exposition, conflict, rising action, climax, falling action, resolution. And in elementary school, that was considered a plot line. This is already in your ISN at home. So feel free to open that up and remind yourself what each of these elements are. That was an anchor chart from 2 weeks ago. So next to exposition, I've given you 2 questions. Who were the characters we were introduced to in the beginning of the story? Who did you meet in the beginning? And you're just going to type right in here their names. The setting, again, type in the setting of the story. And then you're just going to continue here. The rise in action, I did ask for 3 events that happen between the exposition and the climax. Make sure that those are sequenced. What 3 things happened to lead us up to the climax? There's probably like 7 or 10 things. I'm only asking you to pick 3. You can pick any of those events in between the exposition and the climax. And the same thing for falling action. I've asked for 2. There's probably more. You're just picking 2 sequenced events between the climax and the resolution and typing your answers here. Finally, on part 3, you know how much I love your poetry. I'm asking for you to choose the perspective or point of view of any of the characters that were in the story, the fisherman, the wife, Grayling, or even the townspeople. And you're going to write from that perspective. So if I'm the fisherman, I'm going to be saying, I found the seal, I brought it home to my wife, etc. You're using the voice of the character for your poem. You can choose to retell any single part of the story, or you can have the character summarize the story. Your poem must be at least 15 lines long, but you do get to choose whether or not you want it to rhyme. Okay, so that's the note taker. After you have completed all 3 parts, please turn that in for a grade. And then finally, owls. The last one here is Weekly Words 6. It will not open until Thursday. And it does tell you in here that the Weekly Words quiz this week will include comprehension questions from Grayling. So you'll have stems, you'll have literary terms, which you should be studying through the week, and then there'll be, I want to say there's 10, but I can't remember off the top of my head. I think there's 10 comprehension questions for Grayling. Again, when you get to the quiz, by all means, you may use the text. So that's it, owls. I hope you enjoy the story this week. And if you have any questions, I'm only an email away. Have a great week.